Hello and welcome back into the Knicks-Verse. Or, hey, if this is your first time here, please subscribe and turn on the notification bells and the thumbs ups. Very much appreciated. My name is George, and we are going to talk about the NBA draft. Yes, last night was exciting, but also kind of a mess, with the tweeting, tipping what the picks are going to be, and then we're watching on screen guys talk about players that aren't going to go to that team. It was a bit of a mess, and honestly, they got to cut that out for next season. What's cool is we found out that Woj and Shams do not have a connection with the Knicks front office because there was 0 leaks. There were 9 trades made in the first round, 2 of them by the Knicks, and none of them were tipped ahead of time. That's kind of a relief to know. Now, some of the things that one of the things that was a bit of a disappointment was that they weren't able to trade up. But it wasn't for lack of trying. It was just the asking price got too high. Because it seemed that it's pretty apparent that at some point the 4 guys that they had targeted, Trey Mann, Trey Murphy III, Chris Duarte, and Kispert. Now, what do those 4 have in common? They can all shoot. Those dudes can shoot. And guess what? They ended up getting 2 guys that can shoot. 2 guys that they had targeted at 19 and 21, but because some guys got taken too high, like Zaire Williams was taken 10th. I don't know what Memphis was thinking, why they traded up for him at 10. Don't know. And Joshua Primo got taken at 12th by San Antonio. Josh Giddey went 6th to OKC. Now, when you're Sam Presti and you have about 1,000 picks over the next few years, you can kind of take risks like that. And more power to them. Hey, I hope all these picks work out for these teams. But there's only one team that we really care about. And I think the Knicks got some guys that are going to help this team. Some guys that are going to become assets. Other than the RJ draft and last season's draft, which was successful. The previous drafts haven't been so much. Knox and Frank, as much as I like those players, they're not players with high value. So that's part of the problem. What I love about what we're going to talk about is what the draft revealed about the Knicks and the front office and where they're going. That's what we're going to talk about today. And one of the things that it revealed is that they have a clear understanding that their players are their assets. And how do you get good players? Well, for one, you have to draft them. Or 2, you trade for them. Or 3, you pick them up from somewhere and you develop them. And you need good coaches, you need a good staff, and they put all that in place. Last night, the Knicks drafted Quentin Grimes in the 25th pick after trading the 19th pick to Charlotte it's a heavily protected pick for the next 3 or 4 seasons, next 3 or 4 drafts. But basically, in essence, let's just put it this way. They traded this year's 19th pick for next year's 19th pick. And they ended up trading to Charlotte. And we did a swap in the second round with OKC. We traded the 32nd pick and picked up the 34th and 36th pick, which the 34th and 36th picks were used for Rokas, not going to pronounce the last name, and for one of my favorite guys, Deuce McBride, Miles McBride from West Virginia. That guy, look, if you've watched any of my other draft videos, you will know that I was totally keyed in on these 2 guys. So keyed in on them because they made so much sense. It made sense for the team, the structure of the team, for Thibs, and they were totally in line with what Thibs said at the Combine. He said, I'm paraphrasing, I can't remember exactly, but basically he said that they want wings and guys who can shoot. That's exactly what they were. Because when 19 came around, there were a couple guys available that the Knicks could have gone. Isaiah Jackson was available, Keon Johnson, who they actually ended up drafting and then trading. Actually, they were used as part of the trade. Keon Johnson, Usman Garuba, I mean, all those guys. Bones Highland was available. Cam Thomas was available. Jaden Springer. All those guys were still available. But the Knicks, Leon, and the staff, they're like, no. We're going to go for the win shares beast, Quentin Grimes. We're going to go for the guy who went to Kansas as a lottery. I mean, this guy had lottery talent when he went to Kansas. But he was the primary ball handler there. What he discovered was he's not a primary ball handler. And that was kind of devastating for him. Then he ended up transferring to Houston, Cougars. The first season there, wasn't, it was kind of a transition year for him. But the dude reinvented his game. He became, basically he's a prototypical 3-and-D guy now. Though, when you listen to him, and the post-draft interviews and the interviews afterwards today, he said all the right things. He said it's a match made in heaven. And I believe it, because this guy is a tenacious defender. Well, not tenacious. Tenacious might be a little strong, but he's a very good defender. Because Miles McBride, that guy's a tenacious defender. But Quentin is a very good defender, and off his offensive game, the guy can just shoot. He can just shoot. Love that about him. Now, one thing to kind of circle back, the Knicks did try to trade way up. Apparently, there was a report by Ian Begley that the Knicks even considered trading up as high enough to get Jalen Suggs. And as you guys know, he was my surprise pick that the Knicks might trade up for. I actually, it wasn't like I had any intel or anything. It was more, I just looked at the landscape and saw the kind of player that he was, and he made sense. And so does Quentin Grimes. He makes way too much sense. What's interesting is he's actually a contemporary of RJ, even though RJ's been a pro for 2 years. Because, Quentin was going to go pro after his first season. He was going to be a one and done. That was his attitude. And he had to totally reconfigure his mindset. And he has. He didn't even want to rebound before. But his coach at Houston, Sampson, said, like, no way. If you want to play, you got to rebound, man. And he did. He's bought in. That shows to me a kind of guy who is willing to just do anything he can to get on the floor and, mind you, to try to be the best player on the floor. He turned into such a good player that he took the Houston Cougars all the way to the Final Four. And I love guys that come from successful college programs, that have successful college seasons. More often than not, those guys transition into winners in the NBA when they are the primary reason that the team was as successful as they were. So I really think this reveals a lot. What do you think it reveals? I think this shows me that once their four guys were not going to be on the board, and they saw that the guys that they had targeted might be there lower down the draft positions, that, you know what we can do is we can pivot and we can basically punt the 19th pick of this season to next season. That's basically what it is. It's basically the 19th pick for next season. That was what it could be, the highest that it can be, because it's protected 1 through 18. The protections bother me, but the way it's structured is eventually the Knicks, if they don't actually get the first round pick, it turns into 2 seconds. So, which means that Charlotte, if they want to trade a pick, they might have to come back to the Knicks to renegotiate the protections. So this could turn out pretty well for us. And the beauty is that we still have picks. So next season, we have 2 number ones. And the season after that, we have 2 more number ones. So we still have 5 number ones over the next 3 seasons, which is where we were Wednesday night before the draft. We had 2 this year, 1 next year, and 2 the following. That means that Leon Rose is totally keyed in on using picks to bring in a superstar. Trade. Yes, he's ready. And he might even think that it might happen this season. That's kind of what I think this means. I think that there's still a possibility that the Knicks may actually make a trade for a superstar. It could be during the season when another disgruntled star basically says, hey, get me out of here. And hopefully they'll say, get me to New York. Donovan Mitchell, I hope you're listening. Bradley Beal, who knows? Who knows who? I really don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be somebody. It's going to happen. We are poised and ready. And one of the cool things about trading down is that it freed up an additional, I think, $2 to $3 million. So now the Knicks are projected to have, I think, $53.5 million available in cap space. That's the latest projection. We're number one in that. San Antonio is behind us, $48.9 million. Dallas, OKC, Toronto, various amounts. But, I mean, we have double what the fifth team has behind us. So we got cash. Exciting. I think the New York Knicks last night nailed the draft. I think they did. They brought in guys that are going to contribute. Whether they're going to be stars or not, who knows? When you draft this low, a lot of it is just, luck and development. But it seems like they have the right mentality. Deuce is a tenacious defender. I mean, he really is a prototypical Thibs guy. And Grimes he's turned himself into one as well. And that guy, man, I love his game. Let's look at my notes here. Here's my notes. Grimes. Is Grimes this year's Desmond Bane? Could be. He outclassed everyone at the combine scrimmage. Totally. I'm sure that was one of the main reasons why he got on the Knicks radar. Let's see. He's one of 3 players who made 100 threes in college last season. Only one of 3. So the dude's. That's what we need. We need shooters. He might actually give Reggie Bullock, if Reggie's still around. He may end up being the guy who replaces Reggie. We have no idea what's going to happen in that realm. It's kind of hard to put that much emphasis on a rookie drafted in the 25th spot to replace a Reggie Bullock. I doubt that's going to happen. I have a feeling, even though there's been rumors that Reggie might get a 4-year deal, so this could be a safeguard against that. But regardless, we needed to add wings anyway. We need to add because, Alec Burks is also a free agent. I think Burks or Bullock, Knicks are going to bring back one of those two, and Grimes is probably going to fill in for the other one they don't bring back. So he fits right in for that. Really happy with that situation, man. Oh yeah. And he used to be a primary ball handler, and he had to reinvent his game like I talked about. So, but he actually can end up growing into becoming a secondary ball handler, which is a tremendous asset to have. Some of the things he said that he's modeled his game after 3 guys: Jamal Murray, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. Those are 3 pretty good guys to model your game after. Man, if he can be, let's say, let's get a little greedy. If he can be 80% of what those players are, we got ourselves an excellent rotation piece. Maybe even a future starter. The next one is Miles McBride. Oh man, I think the Knicks may have drafted their Trey stopper. He can definitely get in front of him. He can definitely, or at least he can try. He has a good chance. He can slow him down, and his long wingspan will really help tremendously in that. This is interesting from the combine. He had the largest wingspan and the largest hands, all the point guard prospects at the NBA combine. So even though he's only 6'2", he's got some size, some length to compensate for his height. And one thing, he loves to stay in front of the offensive point guard that he's guarding. He doesn't, even if he loses him for a second, he's able to kind of work his way around to get in front of him again. Love that tenacity. Another thing that's really cool about him is that he played some off ball for the Mountaineers. So he has that flexibility. But I actually I'm more excited about the idea of Deuce and Quick sharing the backcourt together. I think that'll be a very dynamic, electrifying backcourt. The next guy that the Knicks picked in the second round, or the guy who was actually picked before Deuce, is Rokas. I'm not going to say his last name. A guy from Lithuania. He's very young. He just signed with Barcelona. He hasn't even played in the Spanish league yet. He played at Zalgiris, and he averaged 7 points a game, but shot 38.8% from the three-point line. Very decent. He's crafty with a handle. He's limited athletically, but they say that he's a Jose Calderon comp. Okay. Hey, Jose contributed for years. So this could be a nice additional get. Also, it could be someone that is a trade piece later on. Assets to improve the overall quality and depth of the team. That's the strategy. Love it. He's 6'5", he's a combo, he's a lefty. I think this is a nice pick. He's probably a stash pick. He'll probably play next season for Barcelona, which totally works out fine because we're a little crowded in the backcourt with Luka. And I have a feeling that they're really going to bring back Derrick Rose. The next guy that they picked with the 58th pick, Jericho Sims, a center from Texas, 22 years old. Man, he can play, and he can come in and play right away. That's what Kendrick Perkins said. That's what he thought, that he can come in and play right away. Boy, Kendrick Perkins had quite a night last night pronouncing Moses Moody's name. Poor guy. Hey, we all get jammed up. He unfortunately had to do it on live TV. It was almost like a digital skip. Sims is pretty explosive. He's long. He had a 44.5-inch vertical leap. Ooh, man, can that guy sky. His comp is Robert Williams. He averaged 9.2 points per game and 7.2 rebounds. Those are decent, healthy stats. Of course, if he was, he wouldn't be the 58th pick if there was more to him offensive. So, but apparently defensively, he's got some hops, which I like. That he's a rim protector, which we're going to need. And what this reveals to me is that it's a very strong possibility that we may have seen the last of Nerlens Noel as a Knick. Yeah, which is a little sad, but you know what? It's bound to happen. You can't keep everybody. All right, well, there you have it. Those are the 4 picks that we got. And I believe that the Knicks, this reveals that what the Knicks are going to do is they're going to bring in a starting point guard via free agency. That just seems pretty obvious to me. They could bring back Derrick Rose, like I mentioned, and I think that's a plan C, or a plan D. I think they're going to bring him back. I'm saying him as a starter. They're going to look at Lowry, but Lowry's going to try to command a 3-year deal, which the Knicks aren't going to do. And I think there's a possibility with someone like Spencer Dinwiddie. Offer him a big 1-year contract to come to the Knicks, and with a team option, maybe give him something like $22 million. So in case in the event that he doesn't get the 3 or 4 year deal that he's looking for, because there's a possibility teams are not going to want to cough up $20 million plus for a multi-year offer for him. So he may take a 1-year deal from the Knicks to prove himself. He's a smart guy, and if things work out, we keep him. So that's a possibility. There's also a possibility of via trade somehow. Sign and trades. We have Knox. We can exercise the team option and then trade him. Maybe like if Miami ends up with Kyle Lowry, they're not going to be able to afford Duncan Robinson. Maybe we end up snatching Duncan Robinson. Now, he's someone that the Knicks would have to go multi-year for, but he would definitely be worth it, which is why I think they're trying to increase the cap space as much as possible. That's going to be the strategy moving forward. Free agency begins this week. I'm going to drop a video about it. I'm going to drop several videos about it as soon as stuff pops up. I am very, very excited about this approach that Leon has taken. Like I said, he did not panic. He, everyone's been saying it. He was playing chess while others were playing checkers. I kind of like that metaphor. I think all along they had these two guys targeted as the value picks, because I think the rest of the league was undervaluing them. And the Knicks, with their, tremendous scouting department, and Walt Perrin and Thibs was pushing for Miles McBride. We've read about it. I think they were like, you know what? If we can't get one of those top 4 guys, which I outlined already, then let's just trade down, punt one of the first round picks to next year, so that we can keep having that flexibility, like I mentioned, to acquire the superstar via trade, and we're still going to get the guys that we need. Masterful. I think it was a masterful draft by the New York Knicks. All right, I'd love to hear your comments on what's going to happen. I give this draft a B+ to Leon and the whole squad, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen coming up in this week. Oh, so excited. All right, well, thanks so much. Drop your comments. Like I mentioned before, want to hear your thoughts about all this. And thumbs ups, subscribe, and I'll see you around the Knicks-Verse.